That's interesting. There we go. Afternoon, Colin. Colin, it's Al. Can you hear me?
His microphone doesn't show up. Maybe he doesn't have a mic this time.
Colin, just so you know, your camera is catching on your forehead and above, and we can't hear you. Let's see, how do I chat here? Chat. Matt, I'm assuming you can still hear me?
Yep.
Colin, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can now. Cool. We're all good. Thanks for joining, folks. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to have a quick chat. What is up on the screen is, again, the milestone plan, just to give us a frame of reference. We can talk about anything that you guys think is important to talk about. I'm always interested in, how Matt is doing with his endeavors, because he seems to be furthest along from us on the Lawntractor piece, and he's made some progress in the last week. I also asked Matt if he thought it would make sense to spend some time on step 4 about how to get to testing the navigation stack on RViz, and both he and I and Jeff may as well have as well participated in a class from Robot Ignited Academy that talked about that, but we've only got Matt for 30 minutes. He's got to run to an engagement, something about meeting with Donald Trump, but I don't know. He'll have to explain that. So while we still have Matt, hey, Matt, would you mind just sharing a little bit about the progress you've made in the last week or so?
Okay, I did some testing this weekend with the Lawntractor, just teleoping around, and the Super Servo didn't have enough. The 300 degrees didn't turn the steer angle. I didn't have a very big turn radius, so I switched over and am installing a electric power steering, and I just posted a video in the chat with the steering angle sensor.
Oh, you just put something up on the Lawntractor channel?
It's in the chat room for this one.
Hey, is this wheel supposed to be turned this way?
No, a bolt fell out. That was my first walk of shame. So when you build a robot, and it's an autonomous robot, when you're out testing and you drive it around or you send it on a mission, if the robot can't make it back to the base station and you have to go out and get it, that's called the walk of shame.
Okay.
It happens every now and again, especially on Bring Up.
Yeah, we should post one of those. What's wrong with this picture? You know.
So the bolt out of that tire fell out. Luckily, the bolt just fell right down in the grass, and I was able to find it, and then I just put it back on.
I mean, so you got this from the store. I mean, so is that a design issue? I can't, or was it?
It was me. I tore the whole thing apart, and I just didn't put Loctite when I put it back together.
Okay. And then you had posted also some questions about how to get the starter to stop after you had triggered it with the relay. Did you work through that issue?
No, I still need a sensor to measure RPM.
Because that's what you think is the best.
No, I'm open to any solution. Just something, well, I could, yeah, something just to verify that the starter is off.
Do you have motors in those front wheels, Matt?
No, those are just only the back wheel can drive.
Okay, fine. Okay, so motors are put only on the driving wheels.
Yeah, it's a transaxle that is just part of the lawnmower. That's the motor. I mean, the main motor is in front, obviously, but the belt goes to the back to drive the transaxle. This is just the stock lawnmower. I didn't add any. The only thing I added is the servos to control things.
Would mine work the same as yours without motors in front?
Yes. I think yours should be very similar. They're all really similar. There are some differences in the way the steering wheel or the steering shaft links up with the wheel. Sometimes it's on the top with that gear plate, and then sometimes it's underneath the deck. So, but they're all pretty close. Like if we could find a solution that just can turn that shaft, I think it would fit for most of the lawnmowers.
Matt, there is on my zero-turn mower at home, there's an hour meter that also will show RPMs. Was there an hour meter on that lawn tractor before you tore it apart?
There is an hour meter. I didn't notice the RPMs though. That's interesting.
Check to see if there's on mine, there's a tiny little, 1/8 of an inch size button that you have to press to get it to switch from showing run, hours run to RPM.
Okay.
And
that's
again,
great.
The electronics might be inside that switch, right? So I don't know if it's hackable, but there's some sort of signal going on there for, lawn tractors with hour meters.
Okay. Excellent.
Did it show up? Did the hour meter show up in the electric diagram that you posted earlier?
So Cub Cadet, I had to talk with their tech team or whatever, and they only sent me one page of the schematic. So I don't actually have the schematic that goes up to the buttons and the ignition and all that. So it's like, it's a 2-page, it looks like a 2-page schematic, and I got 1 page. I did ask them, but I haven't got it yet.
Yeah, so this is not extremely helpful, but yeah, I don't see any button on that one like is on my on mine.
Colin, have you started tearing apart your lawnmower?
No, remember I said the whole month of August I'll be preparing for exams. So I'm not see. I only got my Raspberry Pi today.
Fantastic.
That is, I received my Raspberry Pi today. But because I have an 8-hour paper for the MIT computer stuff, this month. I thought I concentrate on that. As soon as I finish, I come back to the. In the meantime, I'm collecting some parts that I think are relevant for the project. Once that is over, I then come back and concentrate on that.
Okay.
So this one is probably, I mean, my guess is there's some chip out there. It looks like this is taking an analog signal, and the special chip must be inside there to do both the hour meter and the tachometer. So we'll probably have to see if we can find somebody who's taken the analog signal and converted it to a tach in the Arduino. But it should be, I mean, fairly straightforward. I say should be, but anyway.
Yeah.
Guys, any other questions for Matt on his wonderful, fantastic progress?
I'd like to ask about his video that he posted. What are you using for the motor to turn that now?
It's an electric power steering unit.
Did you cut the shaft off? It looks like you hacksawed the end of it there. Is that?
Yep, that's cut.
Did you try to maintain any of the extra functionality of the steering unit, or you just apparently right you'd have to get underneath the tractor to put a steering wheel on, so apparently you're not trying to maintain any of the original stuff there.
No, yeah, this is going to be completely autonomous.
I don't see the motor.
No.
Where's the motor?
So the motor isn't in that. So you can see the shaft at the very bottom in the middle. Oh, maybe I have to hit pause. But
It's bigger here. Where's the large?
So that brass gear there is on the motor shaft.
Exactly.
So the motor is under the frame.
Nope. The motor goes on top there.
Oh, are you physically moving the wheels with your hand or something?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I assume the motor was underneath.
No, but that would be cool. Yeah, no, it goes on top. It's a big motor. It's huge. Like it fills that whole center.
That's why I was curious where it was, because I thought it was a big motor.
It's huge. Yeah. So it bolts it. So I just use Jeff's suggestion. I use a little garden hose in between that shaft and then the shaft of the power steering unit.
Cool. And this bracket that you have with your angle sensor, is that self-made, or did that come with the angle sensor?
Those are just like made. That's just like little pieces of metal. And that shaft is, I think we posted the link to those, but those you just buy off of Amazon. Little ball joint.
Yeah. Looks sweet.
Much better turn. I could barely turn the wheels. I know 300 degrees seemed a lot with that big servo, but man, when you went out and drove around, it was like a huge arc. Just to do a circle, it was like, I don't know, 25 feet diameter circle.
Because you weren't getting full rotation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you mount.
Which one is your servo here? Which one is your servo? This one?
So I took the servo motor out. I was testing with the servo motor this weekend, driving it around, and then I switched over to use the electric power steering.
There is no servo in this video, Colin. He's just moving the wheels with his hand. The servo is going to go on this shaft right here.
Okay.
It's what they call in the software world vaporware. Yeah. He's got a little special demo going here.
That's it.
Cool. But it's actually very clean. I mean, the angle sensor and all. So awesome. So the next thing on the milestone plan, if I can get it to click over to that. Okay, no. So, Colin, after you get through your testing and whatnot, I mean, these are the steps that we would suggest. These are certainly the steps that I've gone through and tried to document. I'm now at this step.
I agree with that.
Test navigation stack using RViz on laptop. When you get to the end of my instructions, you know, you have this screen that will appear. And so we've only got Matt for a few more minutes, but I was just wanting to talk through verbally at least, and then I can practice it myself and write up the documentation as I go. How to get from this to testing navigation using all these components. I've included a link here in the instructions at the moment because this is just draft, but I mean, I was looking at the Robot Ignite class. So I guess, Matt, I'm looking for feedback here. Give me some friendly advice. Once I've got this going, give me some suggestions. Where do I go? Where do I go from here to, you know, with the goal of being testing the navigation stack using RViz on, you know, on the laptop.
Okay.
And you're recording, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So at this stage, if you can pull up, if you can get all of this installed and get this working on your computer, or if you use the image, the workstation image from Ubiquity Robotics, then this is already installed. If you start this program, what you're doing here is you are using essentially the full software stack of ROS to drive a robot. So once it's running, for example, one thing that to kind of get used to is the command velocity. If you open up another terminal window and you echo command velocity, you can watch the commands that the navigation stack, the planner in the navigation stack, is sending to your robot. Now, right now, this robot is only in simulation, but this simulator is listening to the command velocity message. So when you switch over to your real robot and you have your base controller running on your real robot, it will listen to the command velocity message. So that's kind of like a point where you can send it to the simulator and have the simulator take the command velocity message, or you can send it to your real robot and have your real robot take the command velocity message.
And it appears, not to interrupt you, but it appears there's a number of command velocity statements being output at the moment.
Yes. So this one has the mux. So what happens is you have multiple options that you can use to move this robot. You could use a joystick to move this robot, which you'll do with your regular robot. And then you have your autonomous mode. And so it's listening to multiple inputs to command velocity, and then it's setting priorities to which one you want the highest priority to be.
See if we can output that. So we go up here to 2D nav.
So now who's in control is navigation. That's who has control of your robot, is the navigation stack. If you were to send in messages with a joystick, that data message would say teleop.
Cool.
Yep. So if you echo the command velocity, this is kind of a mind bender, but if you echo a command velocity and you send out a message again, get really used to it's just a CMD_vel.
But I don't.
They don't have it.
I just did a ROS topic list, and I don't see CMD_vel on its own being published.
Input, teleop, switch, nav, safety controller.
You want me to echo that one?
No, that should be an input from the safety controller. So if your e-stop throws a message, that one has the highest priority. So if anything comes into command velocity from the safety controller, that gets the highest.
So does it give you pause that we don't see command velocity alone?
Yeah, like I don't know where it's which one it's listening to. But if you do command velocity input navi and then do another waypoint, you'll see.
Oops, that didn't work. Don't giggle at my Linux abilities. Is clock being published? I don't know. Put it up there. Yeah, that looks like command velocity stuff.
Yep. So you see the linear X, that's your forward velocity, and you see your angular Z, that's your turning. And that's exactly what your robot will be listening to move around.
So another thing you could do at this point, if you open another terminal window and type in RQT_graph, it'll show you how everything's connected together, which may or may not answer the questions we're asking right now. Graph. Yeah, _graph. That'll bring up another window.
Maybe. Maybe.
There you go.
Zoom.
And you might be able to use your mouse to scroll in and out. I don't remember how this works. But somewhere there's going to be a node that's actually running your drive system, and the input to that, where normally you would have command vel, is going to be named whatever it wants to see. And you might, maybe do you have a scroll button on your mouse?
I do. Oh, there it is working. Now
There you go.
I'll scroll.
Okay, then on the right there, you can see it says command vel mux. So you can see stuff going in and out of that. Mobile base manager. And I'm not sure based on what these things are called, because they've renamed everything, it looks like. So, but anyway, that gives you an idea of how this, you can look at it, see what things are called and where they're connected.
Yeah, I'm Manvel Mux is there.
Possibly on the, keep going over to the right, where it might say, the one says mobile base nodelet manager bond, something called the safety controller.
Here.
That might be the one that talks to your motors. I'm not sure. But this is a handy thing when you're trying to get stuff to run and it won't connect. You can go look at this to see if there are connections between the various nodes.
Right. And then something as simple as creating a blank world and setting up the world with my coordinates. What advice would you offer there?
So,
Like this is a map, right?
yeah.
I don't know how to recenter. My world is changing. So this is a world, right?
Yep.
How do I, for testing purposes, what do we want to be suggesting to folks for, testing in their world, something close to their world?
In the tutorial from Ricardo, he talks about how to create a blank map and then you can drive around and record waypoints with your GPS.
Do you recall that being the first or the second training session?
I'm not sure how far we got on the first one.
Yeah, it must be the second one where he talked about that. And then this one has laser scanner and IR sensors and virtual sensors, point cloud bumpers. I mean, all of those, that's not going to be consistent with what we have, right? Our Lawntractor is odometry, GPS, IMU. That's our base platform, right?
Yeah, there's some others. Yeah, I mean, there's some other sensors. I'm looking at I don't know where I put it, but I've got a ultrasonic sensor. So they'll see out, they only see like 5 meters or something, but at our speeds, that should be fast enough to shut things down if we get. So generally you want, some sort of safety sensors, whether it's a physical bumper switch where if you come in contact with something, your machine shuts down, or some LiDAR, radar, camera, ultrasonic. The ultrasonic sensors are pretty cheap. They're about $15 a piece. And so an array of them may be enough.
Remember, minimum viable product.
The minimum viable product, you have to have some way to stop. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so see this little sensor? So these have gotten really cheap because they put them in cars. And so this is just a little, it's a weatherproof ultrasonic sensor.
Right.
So you put 4 in the front of your lawnmower, let you see around, and then put a couple in back. And you've got 360 coverage of your machine.
It does go emergency stop if you're someplace where that is picking up a signal.
Exactly. That just feeds into one safety controller, microcontroller, and then it just cuts the engine.
Where did you find that sensor?
Amazon. It's but I haven't.
What is it called?
I'll put the. Let me see if I can find it. I know how to find it. Orders. I'm not sure if this is the best one to use, but I'll post the link up there. So it's a waterproof ultrasonic distance measuring sensor.
Okay.
and the furthest it will see out is 4.5 meters. And we should have, so 4.5 meters should be enough. Like if we detect something within 2 meters of the robot, then we need to shut it down, or some distance.
Yes.
And the board that came with this, one sensor per board, is that the deal?
That's what it looks like. So there may be a better setup. I kind of like this one because it was waterproof, robust, $15, but may look at some other sensors, ultrasonic sensors. I've got some Maxim ultrasonic sensors. So Max Sonar 20s. These are little sonars, but they're not robust. They're not waterproof, and if they get moisture inside of that sensor is open to the air. And so you can, depending on the amount of moisture in the air and weird stuff, you can get false readings. So I do have these, but this one looked a little bit more robust, waterproof housing. So that's one idea for a bumper.
You connected the sensor to Arduino? To a controller?
Yes. It'll go to a microcontroller in Arduino, and then it'll go directly to the e-stop system, the safety system, to shut down.
Okay.
Well, Matt, I know you need to run, but I was, so for me then, the action item is to go back through, the Robot Ignite training and try to get us from some written instructions on how to get from this standard screen to something with a blank world, and test inputting GPS waypoints.
Yeah, that tutorial from Ricardo is really good. Teaches you how to record the waypoints from your robot, send it waypoints, and then send it a list of waypoints.
Where do we find that tutorial?
Well, the Robot Ignite, there's two ways. One is open up that YouTube video, and I don't know if the second class shows up or not. Bear with me a second.
Did you guys have a great weekend? We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Matt. Take care.
Okay.
Okay, see you.
Colin, I'll have to look for the URL of the second one. I don't see it here handy. The guy on this screen is the owner of a company that does, well, Robot Ignite Academy, or the Construct, and he did 2 videos, classes, that is, for us. This is the first one, and I'll have to send you the link for the second one. It's out on YouTube somewhere. I just bet if I do extra class 2, I might find it. Okay. Jeff, you don't have any other way of finding that, do you? Did you watch these?
I did. Just copy that and put extra class outdoors robot navigation, and that should bring up a list, and both of them should be on there.
Now I've lost the heading. Why is that? That's odd. wonder why I've lost my screen.
Okay, I think it's this one here. Copy that. Paste that. Go. I think the one I just pasted is the second class.
Okay, excellent.
Thanks for that.
GPS. Okay, Instagram, how to use GPS to do.
So, Colin, both of the first class and the second class are in our
Yeah.
Ross Lawntractor list of files under step 3. And there. That makes sense.
Yeah. I'll probably look at this this week as well.
Cool. Guys, anything else on your mind you want to chat about? When we lose our shepherd, the air sort of goes out of the room.
Well, you see, my name today is user PC. My laptop crashed and I lost everything. I had to relaunch. So I'm hoping that I still have everything on my laptop.
Oh, goodness. That's always a crushing blow when you have computer problems.
Yeah. What happened was that there is a software I was asked to download, and this software it's MATLAB. I paid $55 US for it, only to find that it's quite huge. I had to take it out. In the process of trying to take it out, I triggered a lot of problems, and it resulted in everything crashing, and I had all sorts of problems. Only this afternoon did I manage to restore. So I relaunched it. Thank God I could see some of my Python files are still there. I'm yet to check out everything else.
Colin, what was the software related to robotics?
Yes, it was related to that course I told you about. They since archived it, but they allowed me to proceed. That is system design course I talked about.
Right.
Yeah, but it's being done by Coursera as well. So Coursera also recommended that software. But I discovered that you can use Python or that software. So if I had known, I would not have gone to download that software, to buy and download that software. So I'll proceed with Python. And today I got my big book on C++. And that's I won't have to worry about whether I'm writing the program in Python or in C++. So I should be amphibious.
You're jumping in a big way.
It's out of fear. You find yourself doing certain things, but I'm not yet under pressure. So I think
Well, I think
if you can bend the system.
And I think having the fundamentals of some, straight up some programming languages under your belt, so to speak, are useful to understand sort of the concepts. ideally we're not having to actually create too much raw code. It's more about integrating hardware and software and figuring out how to make use what other people have already written. But I do think having a basic understanding of some of those languages is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, that's my aim. Just to be able to integrate the hardware to the software. It's from what I'm seeing, it appears a little bit. It's not that difficult. So it is that the basics that I want. Though of course they won't send you the book, a quote of a page, quote of pages. They just send you the whole lot. But just so that I know my way around. If I see the code that you've written, I won't be able to ask you to reconvert it to Python so that I can understand it. If you write it in Python, I won't be able to say convert it to C++ so that I can understand it. So for purposes of just working on this project, I think I just need the basic principles, as you say.
Cool. Again, I think anytime people are trying to self-train on some of those things, it's a good thing. It feels overwhelming, and a year from now you'll look back and say you're glad you did it. But it's a lot to learn all at the same time. Okay, guys, I didn't have anything else. Jeff, anything else on your mind you wanted to bring up?
I can't really think of anything. I've been playing with that TurtleBot 3 and haven't got it running yet. So that's what I've been playing with yesterday and today.
You have a real one. You have the physical device.
Yes, it's this one. So it's got a little laser scanner on top, and it's got Dynamixel servos as the drive motors down here. And then maybe this weekend I'll try to get this thing actually outside driving around. So it's like my miniature, my model of a lawn tractor basically is what that is. So.
Now that one has GPS, right?
Yes. Speaking of GPS, now that you mention it, you've got that IMLID Reach. You've got a set of those.
I do. I haven't used them for quite some time, but I do have a pair, both the base and rover. And
because I found that receiver works better if you put the better antenna on. So like the antennas you got with your new one, I was getting as good of results with that as I was with that Swift navigation device. In fact, one day I drove over on my test run and it was working better. The Swift is dropping out more. So that's another option that possibly you can use the cheap receiver and then just put a better antenna on it and possibly come up with, decent results. Because I think those antennas run around $200 a piece or something, but if you can get the receiver for, I don't remember how much those were. And mine, I just bought the receiver chip, and then I have to plug it into a laptop to do the calculations, whereas yours has the processor on the back that does all that for you.
Yeah, so that's useful input. Thanks for that. I pulled up Matt's bill of material. Can you see that?
Yes.
So he was thinking the U-Blocks thing, the M8T, along with
Actually,
the two nice antennas.
Actually, the receiver on yours and mine are the M8T. His thing should say M8T, P for professional. Well, no, he's got several things mixed on that line. That line is just not correct.
51?
Yeah, because the M8T is the timing-based receiver, and you can get it from csgshop for $75. But then over where it says on the right it says Dev Kit for $400. That's for a different product.
Good to know.
Oh, I
Well, so is this, I mean, this isn't the, I don't know how well that's coming through with me sharing my screen. This happens to be Mouser. What comes up for them is this, I mean, they call it a development microbus version. That's only $50. What's that all about? That can't be.
Oh, it's a LEA 6S, which means 6 is 2 generations behind on processor or on the receiver.
On the one that I had,
The one you were showing right there.
so let's just pull up U-blocks for a second. Oh, guys, come on, make this easier for me. All of these options, all of these options. I don't want to do that. Who have you found, Jeff, that's a, well, I know you two were talking about MLID, but do you have anybody that's doing a good job of selling the T as in Tango?
I'm going to post a link here that's the one I've got. So the link I just posted that's the receiver that's the one that I buy. That's a $75 receiver, and your MLID reach basically has that, and then on the back of the board it's got a Intel Edison processor
Yeah, pretty cool.
to make it a complete unit. And mine, I have to plug this into a laptop and run external software to make it do the job. But basically, it's the same receiver that you have. And you should be able to just unscrew the antennas that came with your MLID reach and screw in the ones from the other unit. And then you get you're going to get a better signal coming in. And I've had some fairly good luck with that. And I haven't run it for a while because I lost my cell phone data. So I'll have to rig that up again to figure out how to get that back. And then I can go back to doing some more experimentation.
So you think the performance of this board is the same as the performance of the board on the MLID?
Yes, because that is the exact same receiver chip that's on that board.
Sweet. Because
Now, the other one that people were talking about, the M8P, let me pull up a link for that.
Because I have to tell you, on the MLID, I lost RTK fix painfully frequently. But I was not using, you know, better antenna as you suggested.
And I found there's actually like 3 different levels of antennas. And when I bought this, I bought the $10 or the $20 antenna with it. And that's not a very good one. And then the one you've got is like an $80, the Talisman antenna. And then you can get the more expensive ones. They call this mini survey grade antennas. And those run around $200 a piece. But, you know, just swapping back and forth, you can test them out and see which ones work well. And I found the big round ones like that you've got on your new system, and that's what comes with the Swift Nav receiver. They have those types of antennas, and that's what I've been using on mine to do my experimentation, is the bigger antennas.
And you've held RTK even in a sort of a little bit of an occluded area.
Well, I had a path where I was driving back and forth from here over to the Jimmy John's restaurant, and there's some trees along there and depending on what day it is and how well things are working, sometimes it would drop out and sometimes it wouldn't. But one day I noticed this receiver is working better than the Swift Nav receiver, which has the dual frequency receiver, and this was still doing a better job than that one was. And just the more I play with it, the more it seems to work well. So, but if you're going to drive around out in a farm field, it should maintain a fix over the entire field until you get to the edge where you have trees or something. You might have some problems there. But from a cost difference, say if you're experimenting, say with a lawn tractor, this might be, rather than spending a lot of money for it, this is a simpler way or a cheaper way to get into it. And if I get mine outside driving around, then I can come up with some results and I can post those so people can see what I'm doing.
Thanks for sharing that.
And then the other one is the M8P, and it's the U-Blocks alternative, and basically it's a chip that looks just like the one we had, but they've got the software built in to do all the decoding. So whereas I have to have an external laptop and your MLID Reach has it built in to a second processor on the board, it's actually built right in. That's the $400 eval kit. Do you still have Matt's page, his bill of materials? Oh, your battery looks like it's almost dead.
Yeah, it is going down, isn't it? So.
So we might lose you anytime, I guess. So.
Yeah, I think I have a quarter in here.
I think it's like a C84. Let me see if I can pull that up. Okay, here's the link for it. And that one there that I just posted is the. I didn't put a blank in between. Okay. But that's the $400 unit, and that might work better because it's from the same company and they've tweaked it. So on Matt's page, there's over on the right, it says $400 dev kit. That's actually the one I just posted. The C94 M8P. So there you get each receiver is going to run $200. And I don't know what you get for an antenna on that. You might even want to put a better antenna on this one too. So one of these days, somebody needs to test this out and see how well these work. And I keep waiting for U-Blocks to announce their newest chip coming out, which is going to solve everybody's problems, depending on what it's going to cost. Because it's better than any of the stuff we've been looking at. They were supposed to start shipping samples into July, and they haven't yet. So I keep watching for it.
Jeff,
have you guys talked even under NDA?
Jeff, can I use that? I got this, they call the robot car kit. I just got it today. Will I be able to use that stuff on this kit?
Well, from the size of your kit, it's going to be a matter of what size can you put on it and be able to drive it around. And the module I have, well, the one that's the $400 receiver, that's a fairly small. That's about the size of a credit card, it looks like. So it looks like the receiver itself would be small enough to put on there. And it probably comes with the cheaper antennas, and they're small enough they would fit on there also. So yes, you could probably put one of these on your little car and make it work. And when you order it, you notice down there that it comes with different frequencies for the base link, and you can. And
I've lost you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Jeff, I can hear you.
Can Colin hear me? Colin is frozen up now, so.
Yeah, I could hear him until he stopped, but I can hear you both. Just trying to find a power cord.
On the off chance you can still hear me, when you order it, you order for your country, and it's based on the frequency of the transmitter, and it says Europe is 433 megahertz, and China is 433, and the US and Canada is 915 megahertz. So you have to check what's allowed in your country. I think we lost Colin completely now. So if anybody wants to go with this particular eval kit, you gotta pick the frequency to match your country.
Did you put that in the chat? I'm trying to get back to the chat. There it is. The one you just talked about, is that this last chat that you dropped?
Yeah, the last one. Yeah.
Cool. Because, I mean, again, I think all of us want RTK, and, you know, I think it's fantastic that the prices keep coming down, and what you're just saying is we've got more and more options.
Yes. And if that new one comes out, when they announce the new one, I'm curious to see what the price is going to be on that. So I don't know if it's going to be, you know, $100 or $500 or $2,500 that they're going to want for it. So, but it sounds like it's going to be better than anything we've been looking at so far, until you get up into the real expensive, you know, $20,000 units.
And
But they won't tell us the price, and they won't tell us when they're going to ship it, so we have to wait.
Well, probably won't be long if they're at least talking about it now.
Well, they said they're going to start shipping it at the end of last month, and they haven't yet, and they haven't given any more information. So we just have to wait to see what it's going to be, I guess. So now that Colin is back, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm losing my connectivity at times.
Okay.
But I'm back on.
So the comment, we were talking about that last receiver, and based on your country, you have to order the right model to get the right frequency. So you have to check to see what's acceptable in your country. Well, actually, this is not the right link. There's one more link below that that's on the chat. It looks like it's merged together, but it says www.ublocks.com English product C94-M8P. Should get you the, or does not, it's on my chat window.
Can you repeat that again, Jeff? When you say you go to order what is accepted in the country, what does that relate to?
When you buy these, if you buy the eval kit that has the rover and the base station, they have to talk back and forth over a radio link. So when you buy this, the radio link has to be matched to your country, because they have different rules on what you're allowed to run for your radio.
All right. Okay. So I can use even because I currently use these radios on the farm. Would that be the same frequency? I will have to check.
Somewhere there's a big list that tells you what frequencies are allowed in what country, and I'm not sure where that is right offhand. Okay. Al, since you got your screen up, can you get the last link that's in the chat group there and go to that?
Brian. Oh, I'm sorry, there's two links here. This one then.
Yeah, there's two of them got merged together.
Got it. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, and that's directly from uBlocks. It's a $400 kit, and you get a base station and a rover, and they give you 2 antennas with it. It's the smaller antennas, but you know, it's the cheapest of the 3 antennas that I talked about. But it will give you RTK fix. But the other point is, since they've put their own software into this chip and they've tweaked it to work, it may work better than the ones that we've been playing with. But I've never got one to play with. I'm at the point where I don't want to spend my money for yet another eval kit just to try it out. So, and I keep thinking if uBlocks comes out with their new one, there's no sense putting any money out for this one. So if you scroll down on that page, that's where it's talking about the different frequencies for different countries. So right there, they're talking about US and Canada is 915 megahertz and Europe is 433 megahertz. So I don't know where Colin would fit into that. You know, if you would have to look up to see for your country what frequency they allow.
All right.
So when you buy it, you just select which one you want.
Oh, yeah, sure, okay. Check on frequency.
And this
Yeah.
is directly from them.
Yes. You can also order that through Mouser in those places, I think. Probably DigiKey.
Cool. Thanks for that.
But I'm not sure.
That's expensive, eh?
This is less expensive than than some of the other options.
Yeah, trust me. You're talking to a guy who thought it was
Is it?
cheap to spend $2,000 on RTK.
Oh,
But keep in mind, this is an L1 frequency only, so it doesn't have the benefits that you get with a dual frequency receiver. But
this is a one-way.
well, it's the number of satellites that it can look at is the issue there, and so it's not as good as the more expensive ones that have the dual frequency. But before anybody buys one of these, I'd say just wait a couple more weeks until they announce their new chip, so we can see if that's going to be the solution to everything. So I wouldn't rush out and buy one of these quite yet.
Okay.
Jeff, thank you for adding that on. It's always a useful conversation to talk about the GPS modules.
Oh, are we going to need this for the lawnmower?
Yes. Well, maybe not this specific model is what Jeff is saying, but we definitely need to make a GPS. You know, you've got to have precision or centimeter level precision on the lawnmower. And an RTK GPS is absolutely required.
Okay.
So Jeff is again suggesting the industry, the technology is moving at a pace that hang on as long as you can before you buy something, because yet a better thing might be just around the corner.
Yeah.
And actually, on the lawnmower, depending what you're doing to experiment, if you can get a $30, just a really cheap one that plugs into your laptop that will give you like a 2-meter accuracy. So if you just want to use the GPS to estimate where you are, then that may fulfill what you're trying to do. But if you're trying to get really accurate location, you're going to need the more expensive equipment at that point.
Right. Okay, guys. Any final words?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I assume the recording will automatically stop, even though Matt started it.
Let's see if I have. I'm not
Probably
sure.
probably when we exit the meeting, it'll automatically stop. So I think it'll take care of itself.
Okay. See you guys. Have a great weekend.
Okay. See ya.